Okay, so today this presentation is on sleep cycles and brain waves. I wanted to take a particular look at how the brain waves correlated with each sleep cycle. Later on, I have a podcast that correlates with this specific PowerPoint. If you guys want to go watch that, I'm going to put a link in the bottom. Okay, so first we got to understand each stage of sleep. There's stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and then there's also REM sleep. Each stage lasts each stage lasts a different amount of time, but in total, an entire sleep cycle is about 90 to 120 minutes. It's important to understand that there's no clear lines between each line. It's not like, okay, now you're in stage 1 and now you're in stage 2. Somewhat of a transition period. It has a lot to do with the brain waves. So it's important to know that. And the brain waves sort of dictate what stage of sleep you're in. That's the way the scientists have done it, and that's just the way it's done. So stage 1 sleep, this is the first stage, obviously, and it's a very light sleep. It's very easy to drift in and out. Most people who wake up out of this sleep don't even realize that they were actually sleeping, which is pretty interesting. Typically lasts between 1 to 10 minutes. And it's at this stage where blood pressure begins to decrease, brain temperature also begins to decrease, your breathing slows, everything's just starting to slow down. Like I said, every stage seems like it's a transition, and stage 1's job is to transition you into stage 2 sleep. So stage 2 sleep, it's kind of where sleep officially starts, I guess. At this point, it would be a little more difficult to wake you up. Still in light sleep, stage 1 and stage 2 are both considered light sleep. So it's still a light sleep cycle, but it is deeper. It's typically about 20 minutes it lasts. It can last more, it can last less, obviously, depending on the person and countless other variables. Body activity is reduced at this point. Your muscles are not paralyzed yet, but at this point, your body is really starting to reduce activities throughout the body. Brain waves become larger and slower. And stage 2, you're looking at theta waves. You just came from alpha waves of stage 1, and you're heading into delta waves in stage 3. It's important to know that stage 2 is known for 2 specific phenomena that encounter it. So the 2 phenomena are the sleep spindle and the K complex. Stage 2, like I said, is kind of theta waves. And as you can see on the left-hand side of the image, the sleep spindles, much faster waves, more associated with that of alpha or beta. And then on the right-hand side of the image, you see the K complex, another phenomenon specific to stage 2. It doesn't happen anywhere else. And the K complex kind of looks like a delta wave, which is very interesting. And as I said, it's a transition period, so maybe that's why, because stage 2 is that transition between light sleep of stage 1 and deep sleep of stage 2. The waves are starting to intermingle a little bit, maybe. It's just all my speculation. Stage 3, this is officially deep sleep. At this point, if you were to wake up, you would be groggy for a few minutes, and on top of that, it would be more difficult to wake you up. You wouldn't just be able to tap somebody or just call their name out like you could in stage 1, and where people would wake up. So stage 3 has a combination of slow delta waves and faster waves in the middle. This not be confused with the sleep spindles or the K complex. This is a different thing. It just the way the waves are produced are different, and I'll show you in a little bit here. Unlike stage 1 and stage 2, the sleeper is completely unresponsive, as I said. Usually sets on around 30 to 45 minutes after initial sleep. So this is about 1/3 to halfway through a sleep cycle. It's also important to note that deep sleep at the beginning of your sleep, earlier on in the night, you spend a lot more time in delta sleep, and as the night progresses, you move away from more and more time in delta sleep and more time in REM sleep. Okay, so finally, REM sleep. It's the final stage. Some scientists are wanting to try to change its name to stage R, which would seem to make more sense. To me personally, it seems like there's stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and then REM. You can't even call it stage REM because that sounds weird. It's important to know, like I just said, delta sleep is heavier at the beginning of the night, and REM is lighter, and then towards the morning or the end period of your sleep cycle or your sleep time. So if you sleep 8 hours, the first couple hours you're going to have a lot of delta sleep and less REM sleep, and at the last 2 hours, maybe like 6 to 8 hours, you're going to get a lot more REM sleep, and that last REM interval could last up to an hour. And we typically have 3 to 5 intervals of sleep per night. Those intervals are 90 to 120 minutes. So everyone's different. And it's also important to note that REM is where most of us spend our time. 20% of sleeping is spent in REM. Another 50% is spent in stage 2, and then the other 30% is spent on deep sleep and stage 1, mostly on deep sleep at the beginning of the night, because stage 1 is just a very light stage and you're not in it for very long. And there's a little bit of debate as to whether or not what happens after REM sleep. Some scientists are saying that you go into stage 2 sleep. Some are saying you go back into stage 1 sleep. It seems like it makes more sense that you would go into stage 2 sleep, but I didn't find any definitive answers on that. And the heart rate goes back up, and breathing is irregular, and your brain waves mimic that more of a wake person. You'll get a lot of beta and alpha waves. And cool side note here, many of the wearable technologies kind of measure heart rate because they don't know exactly what stage of sleep you're in, but they can tell by your heart rate whether or not you're in REM sleep, deep sleep, or one of the other two sleeps. Because in deep sleep your heart rate's really low, and in REM sleep your heart rate's really high, so it's very easy to tell when you come in and out of REM sleep. This is images of what the actual waves look like. So the N1 wave right here, the graphic on the left, those are alpha waves. Then directly underneath that you see N2, which is the second stage of sleep. And these are more theta waves. You can see the waves are a little bit more spaced out, a little bit wider. You can see the sleep spindle right there in the middle. You can see how it differs from what stage 2 brainwaves typically look like. And then you have delta waves. As you see there, those waves are obviously much more different than N1 and N2, and also much more different than REM sleep, which is on the right hand side. Those are more alpha and beta sleep brainwaves. This is a page from my citations. I want to thank you very much for watching this video. Like I said at the beginning, I will be making a podcast to accompany this video, which would be linked in the bottom. If you want to learn more about brainwaves and sleep cycles, I encourage you to go listen to it. Thank you very much.